Welcome to 502 Sessions. I'm Brian Kirby. My guest today is jazz composer and musician Joshua Tazman. Joshua is a vocalist, a pianist, and a guitarist. He draws from the folk of Joni Mitchell, the vocal stylings of Chet Baker, the grooves of alternative R&B, and the harmonies of modern classical composers. In 2016, Joshua released his debut EP, Jump, won the Downbeat Student Award for High School Vocal Soloist, and also won the PDX Jazz Forward competition. In 2017, he was nominated as a candidate for U.S. Presidential Scholars in the Arts. Accompanying Joshua today are Juliana Leyendecker on violin, Lawrence Wong on viola, Robbie Bowie on cello, Solomon Albert on woodwinds, Julian Wiseman on bass, and Mario Fabrizio on drums. Joshua Tazman.
There were birds in the station this morning. I watched them fly from above as light filtered through the yellow clouds under the highway. I watched their wings cutting through the clouds, flapping gray above the asphalt, the echoes of song reverberating off of the concrete. We stand bleary-eyed, waiting for the slow morning train under screeches of gray on the highway. I watch them flit between pillars and disappear into the clouds as I wait for my train to arrive. Above foggy neighborhoods with lamplight in the windows, sleepwalking commuters with coats pulled against the cold. For the first time I take off my jacket, the first notes of spring as my train rolls to have an imaginary friend, a bird with a rainbow feather mane. She'd sing and a light on my shoulder. Rainbow was her name. We walked in the sawdust under the slide, an oak tree growing from the flagstone ring, a chain link fence around the lawn as the highway roared beyond. I watched her fly, making circles in the sky. I climbed the branches till I reached the blue lines. And when I finally reached the top, I'd watch the mysteries unfurl in my imaginary world. My dad would make me imaginary friends. We'd sit and discuss the happenings. Mr. Beaglebits with his clown nose and my blanket bluey. At night the Imberley sea breeze would rub dust in my eyes. A blue horse knocked at my window and I'd feel us fly. I'd feel us fly in my imaginary world. If I couldn't sleep, we'd go on winding, windy drives, winding up through the fog, blowing past our windows. And when we finally reached the top, we'd look over a wispy expanse, and I'd wonder where I'll fly, 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 where I'll fly in my imaginary world. They just finished the buildings by the station. I watched them stretch steel over skeletal frames that the wind blew through. And now there is so much space, though finally taken away the fences. Soon the shops will be filled with people and their reflections, walking with their dogs on the manicured lawns, holding on tight to leashes, trying to keep them safe, afraid of reflections in polished glass, afraid that there's no more space, afraid that they'll never truly be free. They just finished painting the walls of my school. I watched them paint blue on to cover the gray, but the sun shines through, and now there is so much space. The walls of this school are glass and see-through. Students in the halls as we walk next to our reflections, listening in surprise as the questions reflect off walls, letting ourselves go freely, letting our minds be clear, smile at our reflections behind the sky, and now there is so much space. I finally found my place in the world. Once a bird got through the window. It flew around between the classrooms till we let it into the open and watched it fly into space.
502 Sessions, I'm here with Joshua Tazman, and I was about to say Joshua Tazman and his septet, but what is this?
This is a ensemble that I've compiled from students at New England Conservatory in Berkeley. I'm going to New England Conservatory right now.
Wait, New England Conservatory in Berkeley? Is that what you said?
No, and Berkeley School of Music.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
so we're performing a piece that I wrote, like a year ago or so, before leaving for college, called The Leaving Suite. So these 7 songs that we're playing as an ensemble are
I see. So this
taken
entire
from the
thing
same general like piece or song cycle. Yeah.
All right, so it's an overall, there's an arc here.
Yeah, there is an arc.
All right.
There's sort of a theme. The first song is about birds, and it originated from me waiting for the train to go to school. And it was nearing the end of senior year, and I was just thinking about leaving, and the sun was rising, and I saw these birds just kind of take off from underneath the highway and fly off into the sunset, or the sunrise.
I was going to say you were there a long time.
Yeah. But that was the original idea for this piece, and then from there I just kind of started writing, and all these different songs started coming out, and they were all connected. So I turned this into a song cycle.
And the reason I got confused about Berkeley was because I didn't mention this in your introduction, but you're from San Francisco Bay Area. So you said Berkeley, and I was thinking that somehow there are a bunch of students from Berkeley here, from Berkeley, California here, that you ran into at New England Conservatory. But you mean Berkeley College of Music?
I mean Berkeley College of Music, yeah.
Okay, so New England Conservatory, I didn't mention that either, but you are at New England Conservatory now.
I am.
So you made a big trip.
Oh yeah.
So I don't usually ask this, but what drew you all the way to the East Coast from San Francisco? Why New England Conservatory? And it's not a commercial for them, but there's so many stops in between.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, as far as playing jazz, I felt like New England Conservatory kind of stole my heart in a lot of the ways. My teacher, Dominique Eade, I really felt the musical scene was a really good fit. It's very open-minded, there's so much going on. Everybody plays everything, there's modern classical music, and there's jazz, and then there's contemporary improvisation and all this world music. So there's, you can do anything there.
Run that. So I had when I was in graduate school, I had a friend at New England Conservatory, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they had a big variety several years ago. So is this still? So if it's still in place, they have the jazz program, right?
Yeah, they do.
Third stream?
So third stream, which is now called contemporary improvisation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they've changed it from third stream.
Yeah.
All right, interesting. And then there's traditional classical.
Yeah.
And what was the other one you mentioned?
Yeah.
That's all 3 of them. Okay. So, and you're drawing from everything?
Well, I have 3 classical players here.
So then you guys are strictly classically trained, and you're doing this. You're not like a cross. What are they? You're not part third stream, part classical, part jazz. You're classical. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I have these guys are jazz players, although they do a lot of different stuff.
Right. That's what jazz players do.
And then Solomon is from Berkeley School of Music.
Okay. So straight jazz musician then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what are you actually? Are you a composition major? Are you a vocal major?
Right now, I'm a jazz voice major.
Jazz voice, okay.
But the music that I'm doing is really, I want to integrate, classical music with sort of this modern jazz kind of stuff that I've been hearing. And I listen to a lot of singer-songwriter music.
So define modern. I want to ask you to define a few terms just so we're not confused here.
Absolutely.
So I'll interrupt and say, define modern jazz.
I would say the group of musicians, I'll just name some influences. I got really into Steve Coleman at one point, and the kind of stuff that he was doing with rhythm, and related to things like Vijay Iyer is doing too. He's over teaching at Harvard. Esperanza Spalding was another big influence for me. So kind of artists in the jazz sphere today that have inspired me.
All right, and so let's go back and tell me about harmonies of modern classical music.
Yeah. So
what's changed in the last 40 years, I guess, then? Or that would still be
Yeah.
considered. So when you say modern, do you mean since 1920, or do you mean since 1982 or something?
Yeah,
That's
I
what I got
realize
conf-
that's a little bit of a ambiguous word, modern. So I'll just say the specific influence for this particular piece. What really got me interested in writing for strings was hearing the Bartók string quartets, which aren't necessarily contemporary, but they're really important 20th century
Right, that's what I'm.
pieces, and hearing those pieces really changed the way I started thinking about music, and I really wanted to integrate that into what I was doing.
So
And
where did you hear that? Did you listening to the radio? You were at the library. You heard a concert
One of my teachers.
back at California.
Yeah. One of my teachers from school. I was like, I'm looking for new stuff to listen to,
Oh, okay.
and so he said, check this out, and I was like, whoa, okay. That has gotten me interested in. Yeah, that's kind of what led to this piece. I started setting some poems to music for voice and strings. And that was my first foray into writing for strings. And then I wrote this piece and included the strings in it as well.
So before strings, you wrote for Joshua Tazman's solo pianist vocalist?
I did a lot of solo writing. I did.
And then you would make a lead sheet and just take it
Yeah.
to a trio or
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
Okay.
That's how so it started in middle school, actually, for me, writing songs. And I wrote, like pop songs. And eventually I started just kind of, I guess, just amassing new influences and just incorporating them into what I was doing. So I started singing jazz and
so let's confirm that again. So for jazz, a lot of people, so you mean the sound of jazz, or some people think jazz is also improvisation? So
Right.
you mean you were vocally doing the scatting, or you just mean
so in
the
middle
phrasing?
So in middle school, I started learning how to improvise
Okay.
on the voice.
All right.
So I started kind of wanting to incorporate that into what I was doing, and I did a lot of work with like scatting and doing a lot of vocal improvisation with like bebop groups.
Yes.
And so
bebop groups, you mean you would take like a Charlie Parker solo and
Yeah,
arrange
yeah.
it for a quartet or something? Oh, that's cool.
yeah, so I did a lot of work with quartets, and Solomon and I were actually in some groups together in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, doing that kind of stuff, which is how we know each other, and started playing with those people. And so the music I started writing started to become more complex rhythmically and started to incorporate a little bit more improvisation into it, which is what, and this piece does that too. We have, there are sections in the middle where it kind of opens up and, players improvise over it. Saul's doing a lot of improvisation.
All righty.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear some more of the piece, and then I'll come back and talk more about the writing, if you
Awesome.
don't mind. Joshua Tazman on 502 Sessions. He's here with his ensemble.
Yeah.
All right. And so let me just ask one question about the ensemble. So do you a lot of times work with the trio and you bring them for special occasions, or are you trying to use this kind of configuration a lot now?
Well, I like this configuration a lot. This ensemble was brought together to play this piece specifically.
Okay.
And so who knows what'll happen in the future.
All right.
Yeah.
Joshua Tazman, 502 Sessions. Thank you.
Sometimes the school feels so small. I can see birds outside scratching at the windows. Soon I will board a metal bird hanging in the frigid air by a thread as they circle overhead. Walking down the street, the wind cuts through my clothes. It's raining overhead, cold, and the road is dark before me. I don't want to fly, it is warm inside, with the lamplight shining in outside I see the birds' claws. Chasm of shadows, faces pull away, walking through the dark, shivering with all these doubts before me. Birds fly overhead, watching us for weakness, waiting to descend on the carcasses, getting closer as the sun sets. So I enclose myself in my own company, with sunlight streaming through a chink in the clouds, 'cause for now I have so much space, now when I still am safe, with doubt still distant. There were birds in the station this afternoon. I watched them fly as the train doors opened and people streamed out. Packing themselves into stairways. Thick receding line, standing docile, cows in a flock, flapping towards the open space, nets stretched over life. In this overcrowded transience, I watched them fly, but no one turned to look. We used to sit under a skylight in the dark, her breath hot on my neck, her skin sweaty under the sheets, and her eyes in my collarbone. We watched the birds nest above, waiting for the sun to come up in silence. Saturday afternoon in the sun, she was wearing a black strap tank that left her shoulders bare with her eyes locked on mine. We watched the birds on the sidewalk, waiting for the sun to set and the shadows to fall. Now we sit in silence on the couch, and her fingers follow blood flowing through my arms as the lamplight dies. And I watch the love run its course like the blood in my veins. 'Watching her fade like magazines in the sun. Passing remarks, a glance traded in the hall, overshadowed by a facade. I watch her fly, watching the love run its course and wash away.
.502 Sessions, I'm back with Joshua Tazman, and let's talk a little more writing now, because this is one piece with 7, I don't know what you wouldn't call them, movements, right? It's one piece with 7 smaller sections.
Yeah.
When you were writing them, and I'm sorry for talking slowly, I'm thinking my question through, because I know what it is. When you were writing these songs, did everything come at once as far as the music, maybe not the words, but you heard the melody, the strings, and the sax part, or the woodwind part, or did you write the melody with the chord changes and then orchestrate for the strings? Does my question make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Or are you one of these people that just, you get a whoosh of information and you have to write it all down?
Yeah, it's kind of funny how this happened actually.
Oh, good.
So
my question made sense.
Yeah, it didn't all appear at once. Although it did happen over the course of like 2 or 3 months of really intense writing. It started with the words.
So a story.
It started with the words and the images, and I wrote it all out pretty fast, like just writing, and the lyrics became. Those actually became the final lyrics without much changing. There was some editing for syllables and things like that, but every song kind of stemmed from the writing that I did, without much editing.
Every song stemmed from the writing that you
Yeah, like each song stemmed from like this vignette that I wrote.
Oh.
That became the lyrics of the song, actually. And then as far as the music, I wrote the music for all of the 7 songs sort of at once. And I did it because I got these themes stuck in my head. So the first one was like, there were birds in the station this morning. And I took that theme and I actually mapped it onto sections in the text where I thought it was appropriate throughout all of the 7 songs. And then I got another theme in my head. And so I basically wrote the melody through these themes that corresponded to the text. So there's a lot of different motifs that keep recurring throughout the 7 songs.
The text had a certain syllabic, what is syllabic? Certain lilt to it?
Yeah.
And then the theme went with the lilt, or you heard a theme and then you tried to rearrange the words to match the theme?
Well, I
What's
picked
the
the
word?
theme syllabic, or
there you go. Thank you.
So it's interesting. I think the theme usually corresponded to
By
what
theme
the
you
words
mean
were
music,
saying.
the tune,
Yeah.
not the words. The tune is the theme. Okay.
Yeah, so I had a theme, and when I heard the theme, I was like, oh, this makes me think of shadows. So whenever the words would talk about shadows, I mapped the theme onto the words, and usually it fit pretty well. I don't remember having to work very hard to make the words fit in with the theme. But yeah, that's kind of how this piece was written. It's a bunch of different themes that I've recurred and kind of mapped out. And then I just kind of recorded myself improvising music with that general outline. And then, so eventually they became kind of songs with melodies and chords.
So you would take the improvisation and then orchestrate that for the strings? Is that what you mean?
Transcribe
yourself?
The strings are actually a funny section. I knew that I wanted strings for it. I was thinking about the instrumentation from the very beginning. And I was like, I really want flute on some, I want clarinet, sax. And I wanted the strings, but I had to prepare it all for a concert. And at the time, I didn't have players who could learn it in time for the show. So the string part actually came after the first concert at the work. I got my wisdom teeth out, like the week after. Oh. So while I was sitting in bed with my wisdom teeth out, I thought, I have to write the string parts. I need to. So for that week, I just wrote the string parts for the whole piece.
While you were recovering?
I was recovering from my wisdom teeth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
That's what I did. It entertained me.
So, and you actually are writing these, because we do have musicians in that don't write as much.
Yeah.
Or they'll write a lead sheet. So
yeah, no,
you were doing this right out of high school, so take me through some background education then, because not everybody comes out actually writing.
Yeah.
So you have, what's your first instrument? Piano?
First instrument was piano.
Okay, and you're a reader?
Yeah, I learned how to read music in boys choir.
Okay.
Yeah, went for like 9 years. I was in the San Francisco Boys Chorus. And learned how to read music, learned how to hear music.
So you learned how to read music in choir as opposed to when you were taking piano lessons?
I also learned in piano lessons, yeah. Both of those really helped my musicianship.
But that doesn't necessarily go to writing, though. So when there's theory, there's writing, there's what works.
Yeah, the writing, a lot of it I just started in middle school, and I never took like formal lessons.
So wait, did you write? You actually would go and write a score, or you would write out a part and then another part and then another? So what I mean is, did you hear the parts separately, or did you see it all in score form and want to see it like that? This is probably only of interest to the musicians in the audience.
This is all in score form.
So
right, but did you see it that? Is that how you wrote at first, or would you add one after? Does that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wrote it in score form after I got the song.
Okay.
So after I got the outline, then I would go in and orchestrate it, basically. That's typically how I work. Yeah.
And you knew all about the instrumentation, the transpositions and the clefs and everything for all these? That's what I'm getting. In high school, you knew that, or you had to research it?
I did some research.
And
a
the
lot
ranges
of it.
and
Yeah, I mean, you know, Wikipedia can teach you a lot.
yeah, I guess.
I've studied. I started taking composition lessons when I was writing this stuff, so that helped.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
All right, Joshua Tazman, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I can't get a word in edgewise. Dad paints pictures round our car. Animals with staghorns jump glowing as we drive home. Cured of his illness, his blood is free. Put down his glasses of beer, but the smoke from his childhood still lingers as he lets go. He's on fire with yellow light, spins his stories out of sunshine as he takes out his dusty saxophone and tries it out. Mom reads me Tibetan prayers at night before I go to sleep. The wrinkles at the edges of her eyes when she smiles has a new job, takes the train with me, watches me get off, then continues on without the station this evening. Two owls sitting with folded wings, they swiveled their heads, facing me with wide black eyes in the moonlight. As the shadows fall and I wave my parents goodbye, and their faces fade into the night, they watch me fly as I ride into imaginary worlds, into the dark, the space, the mystery of where I'll fly, where I'll fly, where I'll fly, where I'll tomorrow.
502 Sessions, my guest today has been Joshua Tazman, jazz composer, jazz singer, and pianist today, no guitar, and his ensemble with Juliana Leyendecker on violin, Lawrence Wong on viola, Robbie Bui on cello, Julian Wiseman on bass, Mario Fabrizio on drums, and Solomon Alber on woodwinds. Thank you very much, Joshua, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. 502 Sessions is all about original music. So if you're a musician and you have a band, or if you're a solo act, feel free to contact me. I'm at 502sessions@gmail.com. And as I said, it's all about original music and giving musicians an opportunity to showcase their original songs. I'd also like to thank Ben Pincus and Evan McNamara, cameras, lighting, audio, set design today. Thank you, gentlemen.
These are the shoes of someone who wonders whether the heart is a blessing or a curse. These are the shoes of someone who lingers, falling between her best face and her worst. These are the shoes of a dreamer who wishes his dream spilled out into the day. And these are the shoes of a prophet who still wonders why her work is not her play. These are the shoes of a woman whose heart has led her into the wild. These are the shoes of an old man, whose future he still will face with a smile. These are the shoes of a lover who wishes to live like she's really alive. And these are the shoes of a survivor. But can we fill these shoes? Can we fill these shoes? Can we fill these shoes? Can we fill these shoes with what? These are the shoes of a universe filled with the light of candles and stars. These are the shoes of a culture that somehow creates both guns and guitars. These are the shoes of workers who want control but can only try. And these are the shoes of survivors, and we can fill these shoes. We can fill these shoes. We can fill these shoes. We can fill these shoes with love. And we have filled these shoes with love.